Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone, and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves, otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. This is the account of Shem's family line. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. After he became the father of Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and had other sons and daughters. Arphaxad became the father of Shelah. Shelah became the father of Eber. Eber became the father of Peleg. Peleg became the father of Reu. Reu became the father of Serug. Serug became the father of Nahor. Nahor became the father of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, in the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor both married. Abram's wife was named Sarai, and Nahor's wife was Milcah. But Sarai was childless because she was not able to conceive. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and they set out from Ur to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. The Lord had said to Abram, "Go from your country, your people and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram went, as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Moreh at Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord, who had appeared to him. From there he went on toward the hills east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram set out and continued toward the Negev. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me but let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake and my life will be spared because of you." When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarai was a very beautiful woman. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abram well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and said, "What have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and go." Then Pharaoh gave orders about Abram to his men, and they sent him on his way, with his wife and everything he had. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev, with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. From the Negev he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai where his tent had been earlier and where he had first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. So Abram said to Lot, Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right, if you go to the right, I'll go to the left. Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan toward Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Look around from where you are, to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you." So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. There he built an altar to the Lord. At the time when Amraphel was king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer king of Elam and Tidal king of Goyim, these kings went to war against Bera king of Sodom, Bersha king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, Shemeber king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is, Zoar. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is, the Dead Sea Valley. For 12 years they had been subject to Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Rephaites, the Zuzites, the Emites, and the Horites in their hill country. Then they turned back and went to En-Mishpat and conquered all the territory of the Amalekites, and the Amorites as well. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, and the other kings marched out and drew up their battle lines in the valley of Siddim against Chedorlaomer and his allies. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of their men fell into them and the rest fled to the hills. The four kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food, and then they went away. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. A man who had escaped came and reported this to Abram the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre the Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all of whom were allied with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack and routed the kings, pursuing them north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back Lot and his possessions, together with the women and the other people. After Abram returned, the king of Sodom came out to meet him. Then Melchizedek king of Salem brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." Then Abram gave him a tenth of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself." But Abram said, "With raised hand I have sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, 'I made Abram rich.' I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten and the share that belongs to the men who went with me." After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward." But Abram said, "Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? The one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus." And Abram said, "You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir." Then the word of the Lord came to him, "This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir." He took him outside and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you can count them." Then he said to him, "So shall your offspring be." Abram believed the Lord, and it was credited to him as righteousness. He also said to him, "I am the Lord, who brought you out of Ur to give you this land." But Abram asked, "How can I know that I will gain possession of it?" So the Lord said, "Bring me a heifer, a goat and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a pigeon." Abram brought all these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, "Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated for 400 years. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions." You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the fourth generation your descendants will come back here." When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot and a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, "To your descendants I give this land, from the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates." Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. But she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my slave, perhaps I can build a family through her." Abram agreed. So he slept with Hagar, and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise Sarai. Then Sarai said to Abram, "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me." Abram said, "Your slave is in your hands. Do with her whatever you think best." Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert and said, "Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" "I'm running away," she said. Then the angel told her, "Go back to your mistress and submit to her." The angel added, "I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. You are now pregnant and will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man, his hand will be against everyone and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers." She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her, "You are the God who sees me." That is why the well was called Bir Lahai Roi, it is still there, between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son she had born. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am God Almighty, walk before me faithfully and be blameless. Then I will make my covenant between me and you and will greatly increase your numbers." Abram fell face down, and God said to him, "As for me, this is my covenant with you, you will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram, your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful, I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you. The whole land of Canaan, where you now reside as a foreigner, I will give as an everlasting possession." Then God said to Abraham, "As for you, you must keep my covenant. Every male among you shall be circumcised. It will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. Every male in your household, born or bought, must be circumcised." God also said to Abraham, "As for Sarai your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai, her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations." Abraham fell face down, he laughed and said, "Will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at 90? And Abraham said to God, "If only Ishmael might live under your blessing." Then God said, "Yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you, I will bless him too. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year." When he had finished speaking, God went up from him. That very day Abraham took his son Ishmael and all those born in his household or bought with his money, and he circumcised them, as God had told him. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. He hurried to meet them and bowed low to the ground. "If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by. Let me get you something to eat, and then you can be on your way." So they agreed, and Abraham ran to Sarah and said, "Quick! Get 3 measures of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread." Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice, tender calf and gave it to a servant to prepare. When they had eaten, they asked him, "Where is your wife Sarah?" "There, in the tent," he said. Then one of them said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife will have a son." Now Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent. Abraham and Sarah were already very old. So Sarah laughed to herself and thought, "After I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure?" Then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah was afraid, so she lied and said, "I did not laugh." But he said, "Yes, you did laugh. When the men got up to leave, they looked down toward Sodom, and the Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin so grievous that I will go down and see if it is as bad as it seems." Abraham approached him and said, "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Far be it from you to do such a thing." The Lord said, "If I find 50 righteous people, I will spare the whole place." Then Abraham spoke again, "What if 5 are lacking?" And he continued, "What if 40 are found there? What if 30? What if 20? What if 10? The Lord answered, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. The 2 angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he bowed down and said, "Come to my house and spend the night." They said, "No, we will spend the night in the square." But Lot insisted strongly, and they went with him. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of Sodom surrounded the house. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you? Bring them out so that we can know them." Lot went outside and said, "Don't do this wicked thing." But they kept pressuring him. Then the angels pulled Lot back inside and shut the door. They struck the men outside with blindness so they could not find the door. The angels said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons or daughters? Get them out of here. We are going to destroy this place. The outcry has reached the Lord, and he has sent us to destroy it." At dawn, the angels urged Lot, "Hurry. Take your wife and your 2 daughters and leave, or you will be swept away." When he hesitated, the angels grasped their hands and led them out safely. As soon as they brought them out, one said, "Flee for your lives. Don't look back and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains or you will be swept away." Lot pleaded to flee to a small town instead, and the angel agreed. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah. He overthrew those cities and the entire plain. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Early the next morning, Abraham looked down toward Sodom and saw dense smoke rising from the land. God remembered Abraham and brought Lot out of the catastrophe. Lot and his daughters settled in the mountains. One night the older daughter said, "There is no man around to give us children. Let's get our father to drink wine and lie with him." So both daughters became pregnant by their father. The older gave birth to a son and named him Moab. The younger named her son Ben-Ammi. Abraham moved on to the region of the Negev and stayed in Gerar. There he said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." So Abimelech king of Gerar sent for Sarah and took her. But God came to Abimelech in a dream and said, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is married." Abimelech had not gone near her, so he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation?" Abraham said she was his sister. God replied, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and that is why I kept you from sinning. Return the woman to her husband. He is a prophet, and he will pray for you." Early the next morning Abimelech called his officials and told them everything. Then he called Abraham and asked, "What have you done to us? What wrong did I do to you that you brought guilt on me and my kingdom?" Abraham replied, "I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me. And besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father though not of my mother." Then Abimelech brought sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah to him. And he said, "My land is before you, live wherever you like." To Sarah he said, "I am giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. This is to cover any offense and prove your innocence before all." Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his female slaves so they could have children again, for the Lord had kept all the women in Abimelech's household from conceiving because of Sarah.